Take two, forgot to turn the bloody microphone on. Here we are, another day. Cummins is in the workshop here now. As you remember in the last clip, we took her for a test drive after we got the new turbo on. As you can imagine, she is making considerably more power now until we ran into our next problem. We've run out of injector basically. Ran into an old problem that we used to have with some MTDIs. So yeah, what basically seems to happen when you run out of injector on these is you build some extremely high line pressure. So the fuel in the injector lines becomes very pressurised because the fuel has nowhere to go. Essentially, the orifices in the nozzles aren't big enough. So then what seems to happen is it seems to backflow past the plunger, back up the plunger inlet, which is where the stop solenoid is located, and it seems to fire up, obviously, at extremely high pressure at the end of the stop solenoid, which has got a rubber foot on it, which is what normally stops the fuel flow, and it eats the end of the plunger away, which then means it doesn't work, so then you can't turn the engine off. So we ran into this almost instantly after one test drive of having the fuel wound up. So from previous experience we knew straight away what had happened. So obviously we just had to back the fuel off again, stop the solenoid and order up some nozzles. So what we're doing now is just stripping everything out the way, got the leak off lines off. Chris is just working on that now. Loosening up the clamps then on these high pressure lines so we can just bend them out the way a little bit so we can get there to get the injectors out. And we'll put on the pop tester first, just see what they're actually like, because this engine has done I think like 200,000 miles or whatever. So it's done a lot of work anyway. I think these nozzles are pretty tired. So I expect the engine's probably going to benefit in more way than one here. But we'll come back in once we've got a few injectors out off on the pop tester and we'll go from there. Right, we're just working on the second one now. We've actually done the first one.
We had a
practice just to make sure there's not going to be any issues there with clearance and access. So we see we've just got one of the rocker covers off there. Didn't really need to take that off, but we just thought it might help with access a little bit.
It didn't.
It didn't, to be honest with you, because the rocker arms themselves are just as much in the way. So just drop the lines out the way. You see we always just put the caps on the injectors when you're working on them, just to stop any crack going in them. Particularly with anything DI. These injectors, if you get anything in them at all, they give you issues. So we're just working out. It's basically on this Cummins engine. There's a locking ring, which I can show you here. Which that's basically what pulls the injector down and holds it against the seat. So you can remove that first. That takes the pressure off the injector, and then as you can see, Chris has just pulled that one out. Just had a pair of mole grips on the end of it, just give it a bit of persuasion, and out they come. They got a little ball bearing on them to stop them from being able to rotate. So you won't be able to just spin them round and round like you can on some engines. Also, while it's out, we just clean the seat up with some Hypersolve and then some blue roll down in the hole. You want to make sure that seat is completely clean when you put the injector back in again, and obviously always fit new fire seals to injectors. And the last thing you want is it blowing combustion past the bottom of the injector, because it will go up the sides of the injectors and it will like glue the injector in the hole with carbon, and they are an absolute nightmare to get out. And you also tend to torch the side of the nozzle, which makes the nozzle pintle stick, and then you get all sorts of other problems. Believe me, I'm talking from experience, as you can probably tell. Right, so now it's time to put it in. So we've just cleaned up the seat now. You can just use a torch, a bit of Hypersolve or some sort of cleaning spray, and an air line. You just want to get the seat nice and clean before you put it in. Like I said before, you really don't want these blowing past these seals. You just drop the injector back in, do the retaining nut up by hand, and then just torque it down. So 44 foot-pound I think is the rated spec on these. And then obviously it's just a case of picking up all the lines again. The nice thing about just cracking the lines also at one end like this is the line doesn't fill up with air, so they'll generally fire up pretty quick because it's just got a bit of air in the injector, versus having to obviously have to bleed them all up again. So yeah, Chris will just do that nut up there now. As you can see, we just keep these caps on the ends really right up until we put the lines back on. It just stops any bits of dust and stuff getting in there, because it doesn't take very much to cause right issues with these things.